unidentified flying objects.
I suppose at the outset, I should tell you that the experiment was not a success. We did not produce the visible appearance of a spirit. That's not to say that nothing happened. The basic idea was, I suppose you'd call it a magical experiment. The experiment was an attempt by a large group of British magicians to evoke to visible appearance a spirit. The spirit in question was the ancient Egyptian god of the dead, Anubis, chosen because the leader of the magical group was a woman who had a special affinity with that particular archetype. There are various different ritual techniques of conjuration, but almost all of them involve the drawing on the floor of a protective circle, which is then fortified by holy names and symbols. And outside the circle, you then draw a triangle, which again is fortified by holy names and symbols. And the magician, the conjurer, operates from within the circle and calls up the spirit into the triangle. The ceremony, which took about an hour all told, began with the group leader in the circle, seated, and three experienced officers of the group standing one each at the points of the triangle. While the chanting was going on, the group leader, who was acting as our medium, I suppose you would call it, in this particular instance, fell into trance. At the critical point of the ceremony, the chanting stopped and the trigger was given to call up the Anubis entity. And at that point, something went wrong. At that point, one of the three officers by the triangle, 6 foot 2 inch tall bishop of the Liberal Catholic Church, was lifted physically off his feet and slammed up against the wall and held there, I suppose, about 18 inches off the ground for a second or two, gasping and gurgling as if something was strangling him. He then slowly slid down the wall, clutching his throat, and collapsed in a heap on the floor. What happened from his point of view was actually very interesting. He claimed that at the critical point of the ceremony, he actually saw the figure of Anubis leaping out of the circle, and the entity struck him on the chest, and the experience was, as he put it, ecstatic. He felt elevated, although he was not, I think, aware that he'd been physically lifted up. And the choking sounds, as I interpreted them, were in fact gurgles of delight. I remember him saying afterwards that he wouldn't have missed the experience for the world. I should tell you that no one else in the room, myself included, saw the Anubis figure. So to recap, what you had here was a magical experiment, an attempt to call a spirit to visible appearance using traditional magical methods. An experiment that in itself didn't succeed, but produced a very spectacular phenomenon of a tall, heavily built man levitated a foot, 18 inches off the floor and flung back quite violently against a wall by what?
Her little pastime was calling up, supposedly filling the sky with UFOs and watching everybody's excitement. And some of the most outstanding sightings were in the early 70s in Ohio. And she used to laugh about it because she'd be standing in a circle out in the field somewhere calling up demons. And that's all they were angels of light playing games in the sky. Remember, a demon, get the little spooky picture. There are a fallen angel, an unclean spirit. They can assume any form or go into anything. But they can assume forms including spacemen or solid objects like flying saucers or so on. That's why when they appear on the radar scope and a jet gets up there, they vanish right in front of the palace eye because they're nothing but a spirit.